Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today we're going to be talking about something that I've seen both in my local community, but also wider, beyond on the internet, etc. Just since flyers, vehicles. I know the technical term is vehicles for these, but they fly, so they're flyers. That's how we're going to do it. Since flyers arrived in Infinity M5, they've kind of been this anomaly. They're a real big change to the game in a whole raft of different ways, in my opinion. But with the last big update that happened about a week or so ago now, as of time of recording, there's been some buffs and some changes, some new additions into the system that's made these, I mean, if I was being brutal, it's almost like a bit of a Mary Sue type thing. They're almost too good at certain points, and only some of them, and not all of them, and that in itself is a problem. So let's dive into it. Let's have a chat about flyers. So what do we mean by them? They are the new vehicle type. The new unit type vehicle. It was introduced in M5 just about a year ago now. There's currently 7 in the game, spread across a few factions, 6 factions from memory. And that does mean that Hack gets 2, because even though it may not look like it, CB does have a soft spot in their heart for Hack. And that, if you know what I mean, the Ornithopter from June looking one, gorgeous. That's just stunning. Anyway, so they're not in all factions, as I say, and some are sectorial specific, especially with Next Wave, the new fly that's just been announced in there. That is, as far as I can tell, only for Next Wave, so that's the thing. They're all fast moving. They tend to get up to 10 inches, but crucially they have super jump, jet propulsion, and that normally has a buff on it as well. They all have the aerial skill, unsurprisingly, being flyers, so they can't go prone, they can't become engaged, they can't cautious move, and they can't get into silhouette contact at all. That's not an option for these guys, which does mean that they do not get cover. Okay, that is a general overview of what we mean by flyers. It's the general guts of the thing. But what's up? Flyers, get it up? Yeah. Anyway, with them, first of all, not everyone has them. Now, I know there can be an argument that Ariadne shouldn't have them because low tech. Yeah. Anyway, and also Japanese Secessionist Army as well, possibly, maybe not. Though I do play Shinden, so I'm slightly biased, but I don't think that sort of stacks up. But Aleph certainly should, and they don't yet. And I know we're getting a new sectorial next year, but anyway, they are inconsistent power level wise, in my opinion. Some of these are damn near auto include, and some of them are just like, hey, cool, that's nice, and that's not a good thing. And the good ones are filth. They are just absolute filth, in my opinion. And I know players, Machine, shout out to you, my friend, who have used them, and having used them, having been on the delivering end of that particular weapon system, have said that it felt bad because of how potent, how violent, how capable these things were. It just didn't feel nice to use them. And that's never a good sign when you, the player that's got spent points to get these in your list, when you yourself are like, that wasn't, you know. If your opponent is on the receiving end and they don't feel great about it, sometimes that can be dice, sometimes that can be an experience, sometimes there's a whole raft of different reasons that they can feel bad about it. And that's kind of like, yeah, no, I get that happens. But when you, the operating player, walk away and you're like, didn't like that, that's a bad sign. So technically, what is the thing about them? Well, they're fast. They tend to be kind of 8-2, plus they'll get a buff on the super jump. So we'll look at some cases in a minute, but a lot of the time they'll have super jump +3, so you get the 3 inches extra. Now that means they took the first value and they can add 3 into that with super jumping. Now, because these guys, that's 11-inch move for those keeping up with the maths there. So with these guys never getting cover, your first move should always be super jump, really. Especially because you've got jet propulsion, so you can turn in that movement. It's not like you have to go from A to B in a parabola or whatever. You can just go zip around the corner. That's not a problem. So their first movement is 11 inches, which is damn fast on a 48-inch board. It really is, especially if you can get sort of the edge of your deployment at that 12-inch standard deployment. You are midline pretty much on your first short skill. That is nuts. They also tend to be hard to hit with mimetism. They tend to be hard to damage because a lot of them have quite a bit of armor, and they tend to be multi-wound. So you're not, even if you do get that lucky shot through, you ain't going to drop it. They tend to be good shots. The ballistic skill, these aren't BS-11 units. They tend to be well armed. You'll see that quite a lot of these have Spitfires or similar. They have got teeth, plasma rifles even, because, you know, that's what we needed. And they tend to be well protected from hacking as well. There tends to be quite a chunk of BTS on them as well. So you're not hitting it. If you do hit it, you're going to struggle to damage. If you do damage, you're probably not going to do enough damage to drop it. And, okay, well, we'll hack it. Well, probably not. Then they're also easy to fix. More on that one in a second. They have the ability to Pop-Tart, which is just not a pleasant thing. If you're not familiar with the term Pop-Tart, it basically means that these guys, with their super jump, they can jump 5.5 inches into the air and then land again. So they can just jump up, straight up in the air, straight back down again. Nothing wrong with that at all. Perfectly legal and legit. And when you're at the top of that spring, you can shoot. So if you're facing one of these and you've got a unit that you've hidden away, it's on top of a building and it's scrawled quite comfortably out of the way of the enemy, not anymore. Pop, bang. If you can get any part of your silhouette to see any part of that silhouette of the guy prone on the building, he's getting a bullet in the face. If you've put a guy in a high tower and he's prone so that no one can actually see his base, we can't, no, anymore, 5.5 inches, mellow. They just become this absolute assassination unit. And yeah, I hear you. All of these going, yeah, but everyone can see him back. Yeah, no, I totally get that, but we'll talk about that. Just give me a second on that. And these are arguably the ultimate Alpha Strike unit because these are not very expensive for what they do. They really are not. So Alpha Striking, you can zip down a board edge. As we say, you're on the midline with the First Order. If your enemy hasn't deployed in a way with a solid layered defense, they have problems. And because we're talking about units with mimetism, your average TR bot with its HMG and its BS-11 is simply not going to cut the mustard with this guy. Because if these guys are rocking a -3 or a -6 on the mimetism, your TR bot's going to have a bad day. Especially because they're going to be shooting back. You're going to be using your flyer to get into good position. You've got the speed and the maneuverability to do it. So you get into good position before you take your shot. You're going to be in good range. They're potentially going to be in bad range. You're probably going to get them out of cover because even if they're on top of a building, you're just going to Pop-Tart over the top of that and take your shot. Yeah, your normal sort of defensive total reaction ARO pieces are not necessarily going to be as strong against this as you'd hope. So let's chew into it a little bit. Let's go in a little bit deeper. So we're going to start with a little bag of it's fine. It's all right. I mean, it's not great. It's you know. So this is the Nomad Go-Pod. It's all right. It's not, you know, amazing. It's completely acceptable. So what do we mean by that? So as you can see, it's the 8-2 movement I mentioned before, so it is quick. It does get around the board at a rate of knots, which is always nice. You do have aerial on there, as we mentioned. Now, that's cool, and super jump 3 inches, super jump jet propulsion. So it's got the skills that I mentioned previously. They are all sat there. That's absolutely fine. BS-13 is okay. That's pretty good. Viz-13, yep. Whip 13, fine. 2-arm, BTS-6 is not awful. That's all right. And 2-structure, S7, so that's 7. Now, it does get BS attack -3, so if the enemy shoots back, they get a -3. It does get +1 burst to its BS, which is fine. Dodge -3, if you're shooting something, and it shoots back, it gets -3. If it dodges, it gets -3. So you're copping a -3 if you return fire on this one. And you have that mimetism -3. There are ways you can negate the BS attack -3, as we know, and the mimetism -3, that can be offset too. No cover, super jump, tech recovery. Now this little bundle of flapping happiness, this is one of the new updates that's just happened. This means that if you gizmo kit this bad boy, then it does a standard pH roll. If it passes that pH roll, then it will lose any state that's been given. So if you do hack it, you, I don't know, immobilize it, you isolate it, any of these good things, then tech recovery allows a enemy engineer or guy, just general guy with a gizmo kit to shoot it with a gizmo kit, single pH roll, and all of those negative modifiers go. So all of you immobilized, all of you isolated, just gone. Targeted as well, stuff like that. Now note, if this has been knocked unconscious, you can gizmo kit it and then restore it to conscious, and then you'd have to gizmo kit it again if you wanted to remove additional states. So if somebody had immobilized it, isolated it, and then shot it because they were really upset with your Go-Pod, and that's a thing that they did, you would need to do a gizmo kit to stand it back up, and then a gizmo kit to remove the negative things. But tech recovery is pretty potent. It is a pretty useful thing if, you know, stacking negative modifiers on this with hacking, the isolated, the immobilized, all this kind of stuff. If you can just remove that with 2 rolls, so one roll to hit and 1 roll to remove the states, is pretty potent. Now, in fairness, that does require you to hit it, and a lot of these flyers, they do have the mimetisms on them, so, you know, you're going to have to make that shot in the first place. It is that double-edged sword, the fact that the gizmo kit it is affected by mimetism, does mean that, yes, that doesn't help your case there of standing it back up. But, you know, if you get within 8 inches, you get +3 anyway with the gizmo kit's range band. So with this guy, you just get within 8 inches with your engineer, you make your shot, away you go. So that is pretty potent. The loadouts on this guy, on the Go-Pod, a multi-rifle emitter. That's not awful. That's going to do some work. You know, you've got the speed to get up close. But then the natural prey, which I'm going to argue about in a minute, the natural prey for this particular vehicle is probably also in those range bands, so that's not ideal. The heavy rocket launcher is quite cool as well. You've got that sort of 16 to 32 inch range band. This can then start putting player plates down. That's cool. That's useful. But is it incredibly useful? Not necessarily. I mean, the thing with this is, so I mentioned this is great for the Alpha Strike, and this guy with the multi-rifle, yeah, you could arguably hunt some armor, but it's mostly there to chew up your cheerleaders, your order generators. That's what this guy's going to do. He's going to go and assassinate those, drop those out of the box. Even with that BS attack SR-1 on the heavy rocket launcher, is it great at that? It's okay. Are there better choices? I'd argue that there are. I think in most Nomad lists, if you've got 33, 32 points that you can drop on something, there are better choices than a Go-Pod. I think this is a novelty unit. You might take it, but I don't think it's necessarily going to do the work when you could take better options for those points. And yet we do have the Go-Bot that goes with it, the little extra auxiliary unit that flies around. That's cool too. That's awesome. The chain cult for popping around corners or flash pulsing enemies and stuff like that. That is really cool. But I think in most Nomad lists, I think there are better options than spending points on the Go-Pod. You know, you can take a Moran and a friend or 2 for that point. I'd rather take an infiltrating Moran with crazy koalas. I think that's, you know, it's situational. It depends, but I think there are better options in most Nomad lists than the Go-Pods. This is fine. It's not awful, but fine. So do you want to see awful? Because I'd like to show you awful. Let's look at the Redeye. This is just, yeah, this just got better with the latest update. And yeah, now just to reiterate, I'm going to go back a second. 33 or 32 points for the Go-Pod. Keep that in your soul as we look at the Redeye. So again, the 18 movement. This is BS 14. BS 14. So that's pretty good. It's Fizz 13, but we don't care about that. We'll talk about why in a second. Whip 13. Okay, that's better than your average Pano unit. Armor 6. I repeat, armor 6 on a little flyer that's just buzzing. Yep. That's definitely one of the options. BTS 6, because, you know, hacking shouldn't really be something you can do. The 2 structure again. And then we're into the special skills. Aerial, courage, cool. Dodge -3, so if you're getting shot by it, then you're not getting out of the way of it. Gizmo kit pH 14. So the whole bit we were just talking about standing it back up, it's got tech recovery, removing negative states. you will be successful if you land your gizmo kit 70% of the time. Yeah. Right. It also has mimetism -6. So again, this is mimetism -6, arm 6 with 2 structure. There is no cover. We know this. It's remote presence. It has sensor. So as it's zipping up the board, it can spend a short skill and with that whip 13, discover everything in an 18-inch bubble on either side of itself, nice big circle, on a 19. Super jump, tech recovery, and terrain total. This thing's pretty freaking horrible, to be honest with you. Especially when you load it out with a Spitfire at a chain rifle, so you've got that 8 to 24-inch sweet spot. If you get inside the 8-inch, you've got a template to put down, and you've also got a blitz in there as well, because why wouldn't you? I mean, clearly that's just something that was needed. This is 1.5 SWC and 37 points. If you don't want the blitzen, so you don't want that two-use EM weapon, because that's what a blitzen is. You don't fancy that, because I personally wouldn't want that. Then you just take the Spitfire chain rifle and continuous damage grenade launcher. So, yeah, that's a life choice that we can make. Now, yes, I know that a grenade launcher is only PS7, so there's a good chance you're going to live. But if you get a light infantry fire team, plopping down a template that smacks continuous damage on them at PS7 is fairly unpleasant, especially because you could do this as a speculative attack. You don't even need line of fire. You can get down the board, so you're in your sort of good ranges, which is 24 inches and lower, zeros for grenade launchers, 24 and lower. And yeah, you get your negative modifiers and I get all of that, but you can just start going pop and firing out these great big fat templates of flaming death, which is a life choice. If you didn't want to do it with that, I repeat, BS-14 Spitfire with a mimetism -6 unit on, yeah. I do not know. Now, I do not know why you wouldn't take one of these. I really don't. You get one of them in Vanilla Pano, you get 2 of them in Neoterran, and 2 of them in Kestrel. So for, what, 76 points, you can get a pair of these and go zip around the board. The amount of damage that these can do, and your ability to kill it in return, I mean, you kind of need your entire force on top of every building watching for these damn things coming across the board, because they are so fast. 11-inch on that single short skill move. BS-14, Spitfire, chain rifle, blitzen or grenade launcher. And if you shoot back, you're getting the -6 mimetism. If you dodge, you're getting -3. If you hit it, it's arm 6. There's 2 structure. And if you do drop it by some Christmas miracle, it's PH-14, sorry, to be gizmo kitted back up. I don't know why you wouldn't, to be honest with you, in that situation. When we cross-compare that, let's just do a quick cross-comparison as well, just for the funsies, because I looked at this myself and I found it highly entertaining. If you compare this to a Seraph tag, their total movement is the same. So the Seraph is 6'4", this is 8'2", so that first movement skill is quicker. The Seraph has the same 3-inch dodge, same jet propulsion super jump, so they're identical. It can take cover, so this is an absolute bonus. This is very, very cool. Great. The Seraph is BS-15, not BS-14. Okay. It's PH-16, but it's gizmo kitted on 13, so it gizmo kits worse for the tag. Whip 13, whip 13. The Redeye is arm 6, the Seraph is arm 7, so there's 1 point. The BTS is the same, and the Seraph gets 1 more point of structure. You get the -1 SR for the weaponry on there. Dodge is Phys 12 rather than this guy, which the Redeye dodge is on a 13. Gizmo Kit 13, as I say. You've got martial arts, but we don't care about that. If you're hitting things, you're probably doing it wrong. NCO on the Seraph, which is very useful. Religious Troop, which is not useful, especially by comparison to Courage. Remote Presence, and Attack Aware. So it does generate 2 orders to the 1. Now, if we compare that to a AP Spitfire version of Seraph, it's got AP. That's absolutely true. It's got a Pulsar. So it does have that sort of template weapon, an explosive CC weapon as well, and it does get a extra little lock spot with heavy flamethrower that comes with it and super jumps around with it. But that AP Spitfire is 1.5 SWC and 72 points. It is almost twice the price. You could take pretty much the pair of Spitfire Chain Rifle Blitzen Redeyes and end up with an extra structure point and Mimetism -6 and that 11-inch first move, not the 9. And I would argue that a pair of these is better than a Seraph. And almost as durable. Yet, I know, Seraph in cover, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be armor 10, not armor 6. Yeah, I hear you. But overall, I think flexibility and for general shock and awe, I think the Redeye is an absolute beast. And the fact that we can take 2 of them is not nice in any way, shape or form. Now, this was actually the unit that my good friend Machine was using and had the feels bad over. And I can't blame him. You look at that stat line, you look at that points value, you look at the capability of this. This is a first turn Alpha Strike. If you go first, this goes down the board and you will maul the opponent. It doesn't matter what the mission is. They are going to end up in trouble. And if they are a newer player, if they are even a medium experienced player and they're hiding away their squishy lieutenant and just keeping them out of the way, this will go hunt it and kill it. Stick them in loss of lieutenant on the first turn. Quite comfortably. Even if you're dealing with something like Ariadna and you have got lots of camo that you're tossing around the board and sprinkling lightly. Sensor, ping, right, that's all that covered up. Who am I going to kill first? It's just not friendly, and the presence of that chain rifle means that if you do have stuff with mimetism, you know, there's no visor on here. This will struggle with mimetism. No, wait, chain rifle. I'll get close, pop up, do that 5.5-inch Pop-Tart shot, and boom. You are relying on, if you're facing a Redeye, for the most part, you better have some decent shooting MSV units, multispectral visor units, in your list, and they better have some AP weaponry of some description to crack through that armor 6. They had better. Otherwise, this is pretty much always going to have a better than 50% chance of negating any wounds that you stick on it with that armor. You know, even an HMG, if it's a standard HMG hitting that and you manage to land the shot, PS5 plus the 6, you're going to be at 11. 55% of the chance, 50% of the time you're going to make that save. And a good, sensible player of the Redeye is going to take it out, maul you, and then bring it straight back down the board and hide it away. There is a lot of value in the first turn just using the Redeye as just a cruise missile and going dead, 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 pull back. Especially if you can take out their lieutenant. You will, yes, you'll lose your first turn, but you'll lose your first turn taking your opponent's first turn out and seriously crippling them for future turns. It's just not pleasant. But, you know, that wasn't bad enough. So now we have the Skyhounds for next wave. The bestest boy. Hoorah. So, yeah. Let's look at this bad boy. 8.2, BS14, PH13, Whip 13, only arm 4. So he's basically dead. It's basically squishy. I don't know what I was talking about. Don't need to worry about this thing at all. BTS 6 again and 2 structure. Aerial courage, discover plus 6. So basically sensor, but not sensor. It's, you can't cover a whole area with it. It's just one-on-one. But if you are doing that disco, you've got a very good chance of actually, even with, you know, if it's got mimetism -6, you're still discovering on a 13. It's a good chance to succeed in that role. You're handing out that dodge -3. Apparently every flyer is just so scary it gives out dodge -3. Again, Gizmo Kit PH14. with tech recovery. So if you shoot it and you wound it, it can be healed relatively easily. If you shoot it and you wound it, or sorry, if you hack it and you lock it down, you immobilize it, whatever, you can just clear that with a simple, PH14 roll. Mimetism -6. Remote presence. Tech recovery, terrain total. Speech is horrible. This is not nice. This is not nice. But that wasn't not nice enough in any way, shape or form. So the base version for 33 points and 0 SWC. I repeat, 33 points and 0 SWC. As a plasma carbine with +1 burst. If you've not met the plasma carbine, it's kind of just your average, everyday kind of combi rifle. It's got a potential of survival 7. Well, yeah, that's with a circular impact template. It's only got burst 2. Well, this one's got burst 3 because you've got +1 burst on it. But every hit that you land is 1 armor save and 1 BTS save. So, same range bands as your average everyday combi rifles. So 0s to 16 is +3. You're going to get there because you're going to zip up at that 11 and you've got the mimetism -6 and you've got some armor and you're going to get there. And there is your opponent's nice squishy sort of light or medium infantry. And you're going to spank it with templates. 3 from a single burst, mind you. And every one of those that lands, the enemy will be forced to make a BTS and an armor save for each one. Right, but if you've got a target that you absolutely have to kill, then you can use it in hit mode, at which point it becomes PS6. It loses the template, but again, it's still 1 armor and 1 BTS for each, and 3 of them because of the +1 burst. A plasma carbine is normally only burst 2 to offset that double save. But here you're going to be throwing 3 dice like a normal combi rifle, but forcing up to 6 saves. So that's a life choice. Then you have the Thunderbolt, the only, as I understand it so far, AP Thunderbolt in the game. So this is essentially a weapon with the range bands of a heavy machine gun, so 16 to 32 is +3. It's only burst 2 and potential survival 6, but it's AP. So if you do have something with a bit of armor that you need to chew through, a Thunderbolt at the longer range as you're making your approach will absolutely do the job. Again, 0 SWC. And this thing has a mine dispenser, a shock mine dispenser no less. So when you have zipped up to the enemy's half of the board, before you go in and just absolutely ravage and savage and do horrific things to their entire order pool, before you take that out, before you frag their lieutenant in a single shot, you have this disposable 2 dispenser of shock mines. You can just fire out, I think it's 8 to 16 inches, it's +3. So you just get right on the edge of the deployment zone, look at where they're most likely to walk out, because you can see where their troops are, pop a couple of mines next to them. Lovely. That's just delightful, isn't it? For 33 points. But if you didn't want to do that, you can just take a multi-rifle, a burst 4 multi-rifle, mind you. So AP or shock ammunition with a Flamen Spear, so a templatable, disposable flame weapon, because burning everything's fun, with also that shock mine dispenser and X-Visor. So even when you get over, when you go beyond your good range with your multi-rifles, so when you get over that 16 inches, you can sort of just ignore the negative modifiers. You can take -3 out of that modifier, because you can. Yeah, that's a lot. Again, 33 points. I'm just going to go a couple of slides back. Look, ready for this? So, Plasma Carbine, Thunderbolt AP, mine, -6 mimetism, blah, 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 blah. 4 armor, 2 structure. Yep, okay. Oh, look, it's the same point for a multi-rifle with an emitter and mimetism -3. Yeah, it's a burst 4 multi-rifle, because you get the +1 burst. But this is going to make you take 6 saves if it starts landing hits. And it's got mines, and it's got a thunder. Yeah, that's just horrid. As it stands, I think the Redeye and the Skyhound are, and I will say this in the most English way I possibly can, I think they're a bit much. Because even sort of medium experienced players, I think veterans, we can potentially find some ways around it, but it's going to be a struggle. You almost need to write a list knowing that you'll face these flyers. That's almost where these are. They're that potent. Some of them. Sorry, Go-Pod. And the Yuqing one, the only reason I didn't cover the Yuqing one is I can't pronounce the damn thing's name, which a good friend of mine, Vince, will he'll correct me later on how to pronounce it, I'm sure, but I don't know. So that thing, yeah, that has a similar sort of issue as the Go-Pod. It's fine, but yeah, Faiquan, I think. Anyway, it's fine, but it's not great. It's not, you know, it has sensor, it has mimetism -6, it has these features, but it's just not as crunchy as the Skyhound and the Redeye are. So I just think these, at the moment, will kind of, they're going to bend metas around them. If you get players that bring them, especially if you're going to start spamming Redeyes at, you know, you're going to start chucking multiple ones these out on the board, they are going to have an impact on your local meta, because you need to craft to deal with this thing. Your traditional layered defense, your normal mines and stuff like that, you can't rely on those, because these can super jump over buildings out of the way, unless you can manage to put every sort of 3 or 4 inches a dirty great mine. If there's a single line free that this thing can get through, it can, and it will quite easily. And when it has done, you know, you can't rely, your hackers are going to have a tough time. Yeah, it's just a lot. It's just a lot to deal with. And I think if they can put if one of these can put a single crack in your defensive line, it's going to crumble. And the alpha strikes from these I have seen have been horrific. And as people get better with them, are going to get worse. And I think this Skyhound is certainly going to be a perpetrator of that violence. So how do we fix them? What would I do? I mean, the easy thing is to points bump them. At the 30-odd points, I think they're a bit cheap. If they were more like 40, I think they would probably be a little bit more sensible. But is that enough? I think cutting down on the utility, the range of options that things like the Redeye and the Skyhound, whose name I haven't learned yet, have, the different ways in which they can engage from mid-range, long-range, mines, or this kind of stuff, cutting that back would be useful. Give them a damn weakness. If you're rocking 6 arm, and you're rocking 6 BTS, and you're rocking 2 structure, and you're rocking -6 mimetism on a 30-odd point miniature, again, bit much. I think it would be fun if they could be possessed. This was actually suggested to my local group. If you could put these in a possessed state, you could hack them and take them over. Then I think comedy would ensue, and that would give people a little bit more pause, because it's all fun and games if you take your bike and go across the board and then decker the enemy up. But if they then do it with your own, that would be cool. Or if there's some way of these things crashing, I don't know. If this is the vaguest of ideas, and it's such a vastly new mechanic. But if there was a way of making them crash into buildings or something like that, then, you know, just some way to limit their mobility, some way to slow them down. This would be very, very cool. But I think if we make them a little bit weaker, if we bump the points a little bit, and then we make them hackable so that the enemy can take them over, yes, that would be good. Or alternatively, new anti-flyer weapons. If there were a class of, I don't know, call it guided weapons that could get a buff. They'd have to be self-guided, which would be a challenge. But if you could get a guided weapon that could get, like, I don't know, +6 to target flying, you know, aerial vehicles, that would be good. That would be interesting. That would be fun. And it gives us more weapons and more things to learn. So that's clearly a good idea. But yes, that's what I do. I think the points bump is the easiest way through, and I think it's a bit cheap. I think they need to be a little less potent. I think they're a little bit good. You know, tags are supposed to be the height of technology here, and I think if it was between the two, I'd rather take a flyer than a tag most of the time. as it stands, especially for their points cost. So yeah, they need a little bit of a tweak all over the place, in my opinion. But knowing CB, they're going to do that, and this is just my initial thoughts, and we'll see how it goes. I could be completely wrong. I'm sure plenty of you have already told me in comments that I'm completely wrong. I do love it so. But anyway, what do you think? Thank you as ever to members and patrons. You guys rock my socks, especially Chris Sexton and Mr. Cheshire, Jim Callahan, Michael Rowan, Mike Pierce, and Short Coburn. Thank you guys all, priests, acolytes, all for your support in making this possible and helping me through my insanity that is Infinity and Wargaming in general. Appreciate it. If you do have a spare cup of coffee amount of cash per month, I'd appreciate you chucking it my way because it lets me do more stuff, and hopefully at some point I can start doing blooming battle reports. Anywho, thank you to these guys. Links in the description if you do want to join in support either on YouTube or on Patreon. Either is good. But now, let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think of flyers? Have you faced them? Have you run them? Do you find them horrific? Do you find them not horrific? Are they relatively easy dealt with? Let me know what your thoughts are and what your tactics are. Also, let me know what lists you're running with flyers and anti-flyers. Let me know what you would do to combat or change these. That would be good. Do like, share, and subscribe to get the word of the Dice Gods out there. We've got more Infinity, Warcrow, Bolt Action goodness coming to you very soon, so look forward to that. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all again soon, and goodbye.